Hi Year 4, welcome to your new science topic for this half term. Really exciting science this half term. We're going to be looking at different states of matter. So we're going to do a little bit of investigating, a little bit of observing, and if we can, we're going to try and do a little few home sort of investigations and experiments this half term with our science learning. So we're going to be thinking about in this topic materials and their properties. We're going to be thinking about recognising the difference between solids, liquids and gases and their properties. We are going to move on to observe how materials change from a solid to a liquid or from a liquid to a gas. We're going to be measuring some temperature accurately, and we're going to explore patterns in freezing and melting, and we're going to find out what the water cycle is, and that's going to help us later on in the year when we do our geography unit about rivers. So today we're going to be thinking about these first two learning objectives here. So grouping materials using their properties and thinking about solids, liquids and gases. The first thing that I want you to do is I just want you to have a little look at the pictures here on the screen. We've got some bananas and a cup and a car and a table, and I wonder there's a question there that I want you to sort of pause and have a little think about and have a chat about with a family member if you've got one available. What would life be like without any solid objects, any solids? What would life be like? So have a little pause now, have a little bit of a chat, a little bit of a discussion, and then come back and we'll move on. Right, well, thank you for having a little bit of a chat. Life would be quite tricky, wouldn't it, without solids? What would we sit on? We definitely would find it difficult to get around. We'd probably have to walk everywhere, which would be quite tricky. And if we hadn't got anything to hold our tea in, to hold our drinks, our liquids in, that could be quite difficult as well, couldn't it? So, you know, solids are really quite important as a state of matter, but they're not the only one. There are lots of different states of matter, and everything in the world is made up of these three different states of matter, and I've got some examples here for you. So I've got some little Haribo sweeties here. So what state of matter would they be? I'm going to ask you to have a little think when you watch these clips in a minute. I've got some Haribos. I've got this clear liquid here in this cup here, and then I can pour it into this one and pour it back over. So what state of matter might that be? I've also got a pencil. What state of matter is that? I've got a balloon. So what state of matter is the balloon? But actually, when I blow it up and let it go, what state of matter do you think that is coming out of the balloon? I've also got my bubble wand here, if I can get it to work. So what states of matter have I got there as well, do you think? I wonder. And then I've got a state of matter here that is, you can see it in here, makes a little bit of a noise, but I can also pour this one as well from container to container. So as you're watching these little clips here on the BBC Bite Size website, I want you to have a think about the objects that I've just shown you, and can you start to think about what states of matter they might be? So you'll find the link in the slides in the Google Drive, and it will take you to the States of Matter page on the BBC Bite Size page, hopefully. I'll just wait for it to load, all right? And then you'll be able to watch the video here that's going to come up, all right? And there's some more information underneath for you to have a look at. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to go over to the BBC Bite Size clips now. So pause now, pop over to the BBC Bite Size clips, and then come back and we'll have another little look at the different states of matter. So now you've had a look at those different states of matter and the properties of them, I've got a little challenge for you. I've got a little bit of a scavenger hunt for you to go off and do. So you'll find this document here in the Google Drive if you want to print it out. But remember, you don't have to do that. You can just write down on a sheet of paper, solids, liquids, gas, 1 to 5, and I want you to go around your house, so in and around your house, or even in the garden if it's a nice day and you can get outside. Can you find 5 solids, 5 liquids and 5 gases? And can you write the names of them down here on your sheet or just on your piece of paper that you're working on? And then there's a little question here, a little thinking question. Are there any that you find tricky to say what they are? So did you find any objects that you were like, this one I think is a solid, but it's got some of the properties of a liquid? I wonder. So pause us now, go off and do your little scavenger hunt. I'll be interested to see what you come up with, and maybe you could answer this question down here. Were there any tricky to say what state of matter they were? And if they were, which objects were they? So thank you for doing your scavenger hunt. I can't wait to see those, the sheets and the things that you've done, what you've managed to find in and around your house, because I'm guessing everyone's sheets are going to be a little bit different. So we're just very quickly going to talk about solids. So solids, and these are the properties. So these are the things that tell us whether an object is a solid or not. So they stay in one place. So I've got my pencil here. This is a solid. It stays in one place and I can hold it. You can see that, can't you? It keeps its shape, so I can't bend it. If I did, I'd break it. So I can't like squash it or squeeze it or change the shape of it. It's quite rigid and it keeps its shape. It takes up the same amount of space. So wherever I put this pencil, it's going to take up the same amount of space. So I could put it on my desk. I could put it on my computer. I could put it on Mrs. Gamitrovich's desk, but it's only going to use the same amount of space wherever I put it. And I can't cut it or shape it, because if I do, then I've broken it. Okay, so that's properties of a solid. I wonder, is a sponge a solid? Something for you to think about. The particles in a solid, in an object, look like this, because everything on Earth is made up of particles, is made up of atoms, and they're all inside the objects that we have. And the solid particles are all very closely grouped together, and you can see there is not a lot of room for them to move about. So that's why solids are rigid and hard and they stay in one place. If we move to think about liquids, properties of liquids, like my little bit of water here, can flow and can be poured easily. We can see that. But if I tried to pour that into my hand, it's not really easy to hold water, is it? Okay, it's not really easy to hold a liquid. You could have a go at home, couldn't you? Have a go at holding some liquid and see what happens. The other things with liquids are they change their shape depending on what type of container they are in. So you can see here I've got 2 examples of a liquid. I've got some water in this beaker and you can see the shape of the water, but there's also liquid inside my bubble wand, and that's a different shape to this one. But if I poured this, I'm going to do it to show you. I'll take my bubble wand out. Let's pop it on the desk. If I pour the liquid out of this container into this container, you can see it takes on a different shape. This one is long and thin, and this one is quite round and flat. So they take on the shape of the container that they are in, and they can change their shape, but they always take up the same amount of space. Their volume stays the same, okay? And liquid particles, you can see, are a little bit different to those solid ones. Those solid ones are nice and squashed together. You can see that in the liquid particles, there's a little bit more of free space around them, which means that they can move around a little bit more. They're a little bit freer. So, another little question for you to have a think about. Is sand a liquid? Because you can pour it. So is it a liquid? I wonder if you can find anything else in your house that maybe behaves like a liquid but might not be one. Go and see what you can find. Might have already found it. And then finally we've got our gases, and gases are often invisible. So the air around us is a gas. It's we breathe it in, but we can't see it. It's invisible, and they don't have a fixed shape, so they spread out and they change their shape and their volume to fill whatever container that they are in. But they can be squashed. you can squash them into a container. So for example, if I blow a gas, the air from my lungs, into the balloon, it's trapped in there, okay, and I can tie my balloon and it can't escape, but I can squash it, I can squeeze it, and I can change the shape of my balloon a little bit, can't I? So gases can be squashed, and you can see that the gas particles, very different to the liquid and the solid particles, have got a lot of space between them, which means they move round quite a lot, okay? So that's why they're able to take up a big space. So imagine the classroom, or imagine the lounge or the dining room in your house. It's full of gas that we can't see. Okay, and it doesn't hurt us, we don't bump into it, it's invisible. So, and there are big spaces between it. So that's really it for today. Just an introduction really to those solids, liquids and gases, but I have got one little activity for you to do, and that is, it's time to sort of show what you know. What have you found out from this lesson with your sort of watching the BBC bite-sized videos, listening and watching me with the different types of objects and materials that I've shown you, and doing your scavenger hunt? Okay, so we're going to bring all that learning together, and it's time to show what you know. So there are some different ways that you can show this today, and you can choose, I don't mind. You might choose to download or use the document that's in the Google Drive to show what you know. And I'm expecting to see some pictures here of what gas particles look like, what liquid particles look like, and what solid particles look like. Okay, and then I want you to give me 4 examples of where you might see a gas. So you could use your scavenger hunt sheet for this. 4 examples of a liquid and 4 examples of a solid. Okay, so you could show it me just by doing the sheet, or you can be super creative, and I don't mind how you show it, but what I want to know is, I want you to show me what the particles look like in a gas, a liquid and a solid, and I want you to give me 4 examples of each one. Okay, so there are some examples here of what you could use if you've got it at home. So you could build me a model with some Lego bricks maybe. So maybe think about how you could show a gas, a liquid and a solid using your Lego bricks, and then give me 4 examples on some post-it notes or some scraps of paper around it. You could use some breakfast cereal or some pasta shapes to show me solids, liquids and gases, and then put some examples underneath. This person here has drawn some pictures to show me, and that's absolutely fine. You could do that. You might have some Play-Doh at home, so you might be able to make me a Play-Doh model of what solids, liquids and gases look like, and then maybe you could even try to make the objects out of your Play-Doh as well and put some labels on. I don't mind. I want you to be creative. Science is fun, so I want you to have fun with it. Okay, so it's entirely up to you, but I can't wait to see the pictures that you send through to me, Miss O'Donnell and Mrs Parker. And then next week we're going to kind of move our learning forward and think a little bit more about certain types of solids, and we're going to look at those. It's just a couple of things to leave you with. Some little extras if you want to, and you don't have to. These things are if you want to investigate a little bit more. So this is kind of a science, working scientifically objective that we would look at in school, which is observing over time, which is watching something happen over a period of time. And there's a little clip for you to watch, and you can access it here, but I'll put the links in the Google Drive. And you're going to watch the shaving foam. So it's a time-lapse video of some shaving foam, and I wonder if you can explain what's happening to the shaving foam as you watch the clip. You might write me a little explanation, a few sentences, including some of these scientific words that we are going to be using: change of state, liquid, solid, gas. You might need to use some of those words. The other thing you might like to do, just for a little bit of fun, is doing some research using secondary sources. And there's a question. So the question here is, how does jelly set? Because I know when I make jelly, I buy it in a pack in the supermarket, and it's like a block. So it's like a wobbly block, and then I break it all up and I put some hot water on it, and it turns into a liquid. And then it turns back to a solid. But how does it do that? What's happening? I wonder if you can find out the science.